Hello everyone, Bashar here. We are together with another raid video. Finally, I have been a little bit silent on YouTube. Life was busy. So you might have heard that Minaya and Queen Eva are getting buffed. This is the first time I have actually a champion that is being buffed. I was a little excited, but I was not very impressed with the buffs, at least on Minaya. And we can take a look and you can decide for yourself. So this is original A1, which will remain the same as it is. Right? The aura will also remain the same as it is. But everything other than the A1 is getting buffed. So what kind of buffs are we getting? So the A1, the A2 will stop healing for 10,000 flat, but will heal for 30,000, 30% of Minaya's HP, right? Which is great because you are going to build Minaya with a lot of HP. Obviously, she being a support and all, and of course healing someone by the support's max HP, right? By some percentage of the support's max HP is better than their own, right? Because if you have, say, for example, 40,000 HP Georgette, he's gonna get only 12,000 healing out of a 30% heal. But if you build a 100,000 HP Minaya, you are going to get 30,000 healing, which basically will heal up to Georgette or whichever attack-based damager it is, right? Attack-based damager damages are known for being quite squishy, so there is that. So that is a nice improvement. Another improvement is that on top of heal reduction, now she will be also placing a leech debuff. That's also pretty good. And finally, the debuffs become irresistible if Coronar is on the same team, right? So that's what A2 gets. It gets three things. One of them, the heal goes from 10,000 to 30% of Minaya's HP on herself, and the lowest HP ally. On top of heal reduction, we apply now a leech, which is not bad. And finally, they become irresistible when Coronar is on the same team, right? So the biggest change here is, I think, the increase in heal. It's quite a bit, right? If you assume 100k on Minaya, which is a little bit challenging maybe, but her base HP is definitely supports that if you have decent gear. So there is that. The A3 is also getting changed. The A3 now there is only one change to the A3, and she always places the block debuffs buff now instead of just doing it for champions under increased defense buffs. So what we will have is a 40% heal, then a 2-turn block debuffs, and if they get fully healed, they get a 25% shield equal to Minaya's max HP, which is not bad again. And finally, we have something that's getting added to the passive. The passive gets 20% of Minaya's HP in healing to everyone on top of the turn meter fill that can be used in conjunction with revival, right? You get the turn meter and the healing, then you revive her, then she does it again. Nothing else gets stronger. The damage remains the same. So we get the A2 leech, we get the increased healing on the A2, and we get irresistible when Coronar is on the same team. For A3, we just remove the condition and we put up the block debuffs even if they don't have the increased defense, and the passive now heals for 20% on top of giving the turn meter. So I would wish, guys, that these kind of changes also bring the number of books that's required for the champion in line, right? Because Minaya sadly requires a whopping 16 books, which is way too much, right? And these changes I don't think add up to making it reasonable to book or builder. So I'm afraid for me she will stay in the vault. I don't think this buff is good enough. I mean, if we got rid of some books, right? But even at 12, I wouldn't feel at peace. Probably maybe 10 books and the aura strengthens a little bit more. I don't feel this does it for me. But if you are in the mid gameish and you have a Minaya, but guys, as I said, the books will always be a problem, right? The books will be a problem if you are late game, if you are mid game, and if you are end game. Why would you need Minaya? Maybe if you have Coronar, I'm not very sure, but I feel like the buffs don't justify the building of her. The second buff champion is Queen Eva. There she is. So she's a Spirit Affinity nuker, and I would say she is pretty good now, right? So she definitely has use in the mid game now. Late game depends if you are lacking nukers, because sometimes you just don't get proper nukers, and she can definitely be used in arena and whatnot now. So what she gets? So first of all, the A1 goes up to 70%, which means when it's booked, it's going to apply the heal reduction. On top of that, she also applies block buffs with it, right? Which means she can one-shot the enemy's Leorius, right? Or similar champions that, Grazur, that sort of thing. And you might remember, if you have Queen Eva, that her A3 has a built-in 15% chance of critting, right? Like this. So now all of her abilities have that built-in 15% chance of critting, which means she can be built with 85% crit. And on top of that, she is gonna apply the heal reduction for sure. Now it's not guaranteed, but it will be 100%. There will be the accuracy sort of, right, and the 3% base risk, but at least it will book up to 100% now. And on top of it, she does block buffs, and on top of it, the damage has been increased as well. And guys, so they don't disclose the amount of damage increase that's being done here, but I would say 5%, 10% would be a little too low to mention even. I would say it would be like 25% or higher, but I'm just guessing. I don't know anything for sure. And the books are pretty valuable, right? 35% damage on just with 2 books, right? With Minaya we had 4 books that did 20% damage up. So that's a pretty nasty A1. As I said, it can be used to hunt Leorius, right? Hunt Grazur, hunt that kind of similar champion. It can even be used to hunt Zinogre, actually, because she also plays the heal reduction, which will counter her. So the A1, I would say, is pretty good, right? Increased damage, definite placement of the heal reduction, and on top of that, block buffs, and 15% increased crit chance. So that is 4 buffs, right? The heal reduction becomes a certain thing from 80%. We get another debuff on the target, which is a meaningful debuff. We get 15% increased crit rate and increased crit damage, increased crit rate. Huh? That is a proper buff for an A1, right? 4 buffs. The A2 is becoming a pure monster, so it has its damage increased, right? On top of it, it gains 50% defense ignore and 15% built-in crit rate as well. So we get, if we built-in increase 50% crit rate, we get damage increase, which we don't know the amount of, but I am going to guess again, probably not lower than like 25% or so, and 50% defense ignore. So guys, 50% defense ignore is huge because it can be used in conjunction with Savage and Hand Smasher to just kill. And thing is, guys, this ability has built-in block revive as well, which means you can just one-shot the enemy. They are out to fight for good, right? So it could finish, tag team arena and live arena and regular arena matches instantly. You just focus the enemy's, damager, you kill, bang, it's dead, right? And the A3 gets increased damage in. So that's what it gets. I'm gonna guess it's gonna be a little more damage because everything got buffed. So I would say Queen Eva would at least be a B tier nuker now. I mean, she was meh, maybe, right? Block revive is always nice, of course, but the 50% defense ignore. So guys, let me get to it. So I do the same on my Georgette so I can show it to you. So guys, Georgette also has 50% defense ignore at times. So you use this mastery. This gives you a 50% chance of ignoring 25% defense, right? And then you put Savage in, 25% more ignore. So you have the 50% base, you have the 25% savage, that's going to add up to 75%, and then 50% of the time you ignore 25% more, which will allow you to ignore 100%. So guys, there is a thing that you need to know about defense. The defense works in such a way that it gives you lower and lower value when you have more. So this is not to say, keep your defense low or anything, but you just get less out of it, right? So the first 2,000 points to the first 1,000 points of defense are very valuable. They give you a huge damage reduction, right? The second, the third, etc. give actually less value. So let's say we are hitting a target with, let's say, like 4,000 defense, right? And we have the 25% defense ignore from savage, which will allow us to ignore 1,000 defense, which will increase our damage by approximately 30%. And then we ignore, let's say, another 25% with Helm Smasher. That's going to increase our damage like 35% or so, a little bit more, because it is, we are ignoring the more valuable defense now. Then let's say we ignore another 25% defense, which is going to add like 50% damage. And I'm not talking about cumulative, guys. These are separate. So we increase damage by 25%. Then we increase that damage that has been increased by 25% by another 35%. Then we increase that damage that has been increased by 25% and 35% by another 50%. And here comes the bomb, guys. If you ignore the last 25% defense, you get like 200% damage bonus, which means you will be dealing triple, right? And that's why you see, George or those other champions or the monkey dealing like 300,000 damage in one hit, right? Because they can achieve 100% defense ignore, and when that happens, they do hundreds of thousands of damage, right? And thing with Lady Eva is, guys, Queen Eva is that she will be blocking revive alongside, and if you ignore 100% defense and block revive, they are going to be done, right? And it's a good thing that it's 2 hits, right? So for example, Rotos is of course the opposite defender, but it still can kill Rotos, right? Because it's dealing its damage in 2 hits. So there is also that. And imagine in live arena, they most of the time have a single damage dealer. Bang, you kill it, it's done, right? Then you can work your way up. All abilities had their damage increased. 2 abilities got a built-in 15% increased crit rate in. A2 got a 50% defense ignore. A1 got the heal reduction guaranteed, and on top of it, now it does block pass. All 3 abilities are dangerous, right? This one does turn meter reduction and AoE. The first one can be used to kill champions that receive unkillable when they are killed, right? Like Leorius. And the A2 can be used to take down the targets that are, being annoying for you, especially good for damage dealers, of course. Because with damage dealers, you don't have to achieve, the full 100% defense ignore. Even with 75% defense ignore, you'll be killing them most of the time. But guys, of course, one point has to be made. So void nukers are very good because they don't get countered by, affinity, right? With Queen Eva, there is always the off chance of, the enemy, let's say you're drafting live arena, right? And the enemy saw your Queen Eva. They are like, okay, I will put up, magic affinity champion, blue champions here, and I will ban the other damage that they put, because you wouldn't be putting more than 2 damages in a live arena fight. And that would mean your Queen Eva would be, subjected to, fighting a lot of blue champions, and, the damage goes drastically low when you are weak hitting. So that can be annoying, of course. But they can't, of course, put up, 4 blue guys, right? Still, though, there is that, the monkey gets countered by, Elva. Harima gets countered by the monkey, right? There is that kind of stuff. But still, I would say she's pretty good. And if you're early game and mid game, she's definitely worth using now. Because sometimes, guys, you can get stuck in getting nukers. And I would say she is an acceptable arena champion now. I wish I had Queen Eva and not Minaya. She definitely looks like a little more useful now. And I am actually a little bit worried, guys, because in Sintranos, in the Cursed City of Sintranos, there are some rooms that feature Queen Eva, and now she's extremely dangerous. First of all, the AI has only 15% crit rate. The built-in 15% crit rate will bring that up to 30%. And the defense ignore on the A2 is going to be extremely dangerous as well. So thankfully, most of the time I think she's in the first wave. And in the first wave, if you get a block revive on some of your guy, you have to restart. So there is that. That is extremely specific thinking, but could be a little problematic. So there is that, guys. My take is that Minaya is still going to be a wild card in the. I don't think she's worth the 16 books, and the buffs are not substantial enough. But Eva's books are definitely substantial enough, right? Early game and mid game, I would say, would use her properly. Late game depends on what you got, right? If you haven't been lucky with nukers, she definitely can still be used. I like the Eva buffs. I wish Minaya had maybe a little more improvement on her aura, maybe. I mean, she doesn't feel, very worthwhile still. And that is the sum of the buffs that are coming into these two champions, guys. And I will see you on the stream. Bye-bye.